In a world where progress never sleeps, one company stands out as the driving force behind infrastructure and energy solutions. Introducing our fuel company and cement producer, where excellence meets efficiency. Jar Oil. The company have 30 filling stations across the country that are all operating, which includes the recently completed Yarambamba and Old Yundum filling stations. And our rates are relatively cheaper than anyone else across the country. Along the years, Jar Oil introduces importation and distribution of cement in their line of business to diversify and strengthen their operations. Are you a cement retailer? At the moment, Jar Oil is the biggest producer and distributor of cement in the country with the most competitive prices in the market. With a focus on sustainability and innovation, we are paving the way for a greener, stronger future. Trust in us to fuel your projects and lay the groundwork for success. We currently produce over 25,200,000 bags per year. As the largest cement producer in the country, Jar Oil also targets to export cement to the neighboring countries like Guinea-Bissau, Guinea-Conakry, and others. Join us on our journey to shape a world where every drop of fuel and every bag of cement makes a difference. Together, we can build a brighter tomorrow.
Good morning on Monday, the 24th of March and 24th of Ramadan 2025. It's 8 a.m. in the Gambia and therefore coffee time on West Coast Radio with me, Peter Gomez. On YouTube, our partners are Wave and Jar Oil.
Axel jam si Wave.
Yo, Abla, yo lu tax doo dee dégg lu tax mënuloo jël moto nga andil ma xaalis. Hello? Kan lay waxal?
Bësal mu fine.
What?
Bësal mu fine.
Oh, yes!
Wave Axel Gambia. Deposit and withdraw money, pay bills and buy mobile credit without fees. Transfer money wherever in the country for only 1% fee. Ak Wave. Bësal mu fine. Wave. Your money is yours.
Our flour is made from high-grade wheat, imported from global markets and blended to produce the best flour in the Gambia. At GMC, every bag of Eco 65 flour is fortified with vitamins and minerals, undergoes rigorous testing and quality controls to ensure that the flour produced meets our high-quality standards.
Welcome back, and if you'd like to advertise on the program, contact Mr. Jibril Jassi on 699-0107, 787-0107, or 924-2424. Now, on Friday, we carried the reaction of the UDP's media team, headed by Tombong Sedi, to Thursday night's pulsating football match between the Gambia men's senior football team, nicknamed the Scorpions, and the Harambee Stars of Kenya. The game was played in Abidjan, a match that should have been played in the Gambia. It had to be switched away from the Independence Stadium in Bakau because the setting has been deemed unfit for CAF and FIFA-sanctioned football matches with its substandard pitch and outdated facilities. The last time, in case you care to know, the Scorpions played at the Independence Stadium was in 2019. It means that Bakary Badjie, our guest this morning, who was appointed in 2020, has yet to witness the Scorpions in action at home as Minister in charge of Youth and Sport. Well, the UDP has made its position clear on what it thinks about the problem. What about you, while we have the Minister with us in the studio? SMS or WhatsApp your thoughts to me on 7711599 for Bakary's response. And speaking of the Minister, let's welcome him to West Coast Radio. Good morning, Honorable Badjie, and welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Gomez, and good morning to all the listeners of Coffee Time.
It's been a while. I think the last time we spoke, you were aiming for the mayorship in Kanifing Municipality.
That is true.
A lot of water has since gone on the bridge, as they say. And yeah, you even had difficulty finding us in our new location.
Place. No, that's true. I actually went to the old building thinking that's where you are, but then I couldn't. So I had to use the maps to locate this new place.
Fantastic. Good that you know how to use maps. Some of us still don't know how to use Google Maps.
So,
a lot of noise, and understandably so, about the still unavailability of the Independence Stadium for football matches. And yeah, about government's commitment to youths. What do you have to say about that?
No, thank you, and it's good to be here, Mr. Gomez. Well, first, let me just say, yes, Independence Stadium was banned in 2019, but in 2020, government put in some money to renovate it, and that allowed us to play some of our AFCON, actually, all of our AFCON matches for 2021. So when Gambia qualified for AFCON 2021, we actually played in the Gambia.
Oh, did we?
And then I did witness a match at the Independence Stadium in March of 2021. That was the match that we defeated, if you remember.
Was it Angola? No, Angola was in 2019.
Angola was in 2019. Yes. It was Gabon when we defeated Gabon to qualify for AFCON for the first time. So it was after that, in 2022, that CAF reinstated the ban and saying that what was done in
Okay, so the ban was in 2019, then you did some adjustments,
yes,
which they found okay.
Yes.
You know,
and allowed us to play AFCON qualifiers.
Oh, that's funny.
And after AFCON qualifiers in 2022, that was when they reinstated the new ban. And that is the one that has still been in effect. So, of course, you remember we qualified in AFCON here in March of 2021. So that's the little bit of history.
Yeah, before we go on to, you addressing the issue of government policy on youth, why is CAF holding on to, the stadium being maintained on the banned list still? Because some of us, watch matches being played in other countries, teams having home advantage on pitches that could not in any way be better than what we have at the Independence Stadium.
No, that remains our position, and unfortunately, the reaction from some of the Gambians here is different. But from some of us that are there, and the people that have gone around with the national team and know what obtains in some of the countries, everybody tells you that what is done in the country is almost the same, or even more than what they see in some other countries, including some of our neighboring countries and some of the countries where we host our matches. Now, why that is the situation, we still find it very difficult to understand. We've tried our best.
Are you not talking directly to CAF?
No, by regulation, we cannot. We don't talk directly to CAF. We talk to CAF through the Gambia Football Federation. So whatever we have, we channel it through the Football Federation, and CAF talks to us through the Football Federation. So they don't even address the ministry. They don't address government. They address the federation, and the federation communicates to us. When we respond to the federation, and the federation communicates to CAF. That is the norm that has been established over time, and that is what we continue to follow. So government cannot write to CAF. They will not even respond to you. That has been the issue. So what we're doing now is, well, the last thing they said was that every other thing was good except the pitch. And in their letter, they said the pitch still requires some more work. Specifically, it was about how green it was, that it was supposed to be greener, and that there was some fungal attack that they said affected the look of the pitch. So we were asked to work on that, and that also means that I should rectify the whole notion that the grass is substandard and it's not good. CAF didn't say that. If you look at the report, the report said the grass is the right type of grass, and the hybrid is normal. However, they said there was some issues with the greenery, and then, of course, we were coming from the raining season. There was fungal attack. And even the CAF inspector, we did promise him that before the match day, all of that would have gone. But then, they couldn't take that. So, and then they asked us to work on it. When we worked on it and completed, we again wrote to the federation to say, invite CAF to come and do the inspection. This match, before the match, we wanted them to come and do the inspection. They responded. We got a letter from the GFF saying they are coming to do the inspection. 2 days after, they changed that letter again, sent us another letter and said, unfortunately, they will not be able to make it for this window, and that they will come in later on. So these are the issues that we've been going through between us, the Federation, and CAF. And sometimes it's difficult. It's like one department will make one decision, and a day after, another department makes another decision. From
Department of CAF, you mean?
Yeah. Okay. From the same institution. Because match competition department and safety and security and others are a little bit, they're different. They're all different, but they're all under one institution called CAF. Now, why the changes happen, and with all fairness, the coach was there recently, and he made a remark. But people think that, oh, why was he making that? But that's a fact. Anybody that you talk to, and I don't want to quote people, but even some of them in the Football Federation, when we went on a pre-inspection before the arrival of the CAF, the assurance I got as a minister from the members of the executive of the federation is that as far as they know, and they are all CAF stadium inspectors, everything is good. And we are all hopeful that we are going to get the CAF approval. All of a sudden, it didn't happen. But moving forward, we are getting the right machines. In the initial stage of the renovation, the maintenance aspect, that's the post-rehabilitation maintenance, was not factored. So what we're doing now is to get the right machines for the cutting of the grass, because that's one of the things that the CAF inspector, CAF sent another expert.
So the mowers you were using were not of the, of the right recommended type?
That's what they said. Okay. That's what the CAF, when he came in, this was not the inspector, this was the CAF expert sent us another guy, like they promised. And when he came, he said, okay, this is not the right type of machines, and you need to get certain type of machines that are, it's machine driven, so somebody has to drive them. Those are the type that are required for the type of grass we have. And those are not available around here. We've, we have to buy them from somewhere else. Sure. So the company that CAF linked us is in France, and we are working with them to procure all the equipments that are needed. And their staff would be here to train our staff on how to maintain the type of pitches that we have. That was what was missing. So we're hoping that by the first week of April, we will finalize the contract. Again, these are all procedure issues. The documents are currently at the Gambia Public Procurement Authority to wait for approval on how to procure from an international company without having the local company here. So that was what when we get that, we will sign the contract, and then they will come and train our people. And we hope that when CAF comes back again, we will be able to get the approval.
I think it's the right decision, because if you now get these machines from a supplier recommended by CAF, and then CAF sends you personnel to do the cutting, I don't think they would turn around and say, well, you still did not use the right equipment, and, you didn't cut it the right. But I just want us to dial back to what the coach might have said, because they speak on different platforms. What did he say about the pitch that you take to be the absolute truth that people are not maybe heeding, because maybe they just want to be critical of this government?
Yeah, and that's the unfortunate part. I mean, to talk about it, I did think, and I'm not asking anybody to support us, but I thought that when national issues happen, that some of the Gambians, or majority of our people, are supposed to see the country and not the politics of what happens or the wasted money they did that. Because that's what some of the people were reacting to.
You would expect UDP to react the way they reacted. I mean, they are competing you for
the state house,
for authority,
or the government. Yeah, and I agree with that. But what I mean is the overall the other Gambians, because when certain things happen and you think you are being treated because you are a small country, you do not have the power at the international level to make certain things happen. The country's citizens are supposed to stand with the government and call out CAF for whatever wrong they're doing. I mean, like I said, people go to, and I don't want to name countries by my state.
I'd like to know what the coach said.
No, the coach said, recently he was there when he came in to prepare for this match that we're playing with Kenya. We all saw him. I was in there, but he had a session with some of the sport journalists. And the question came up about the pitch. And he said he was at the stadium and he went onto the pitch, walked on that pitch, and as far as he knows, the pitch has met the requirements that he has seen anywhere around the world. And he even made reference that some of the pitches where they played in Morocco and other places, this pitch is better than that.
Wow, that's a profound statement.
That is what he said. And I guess that is what everybody else should know, because the coach, I have not even, apart from the day we signed him, I've never met him, I never talked to him. And I don't even know what he's up to apart from what he does on the media. But this was his statement. And like I said, not only him, some of our players were here in December for the holidays, and they took time to go to the stadium, went into the change room, and went onto the pitch, and went around the field. And most of them that reacted gave a positive feedback as long as the pitch is concerned and the change room. So we continue to struggle with CAF. But like I said, we're moving on. They have identified a company that they said is good enough, is a reputable company. we would work with them
in France
to get the equipment that are needed and get them to be here for 2 months.
Roughly how much is this? Is it one mower or a couple of mowers you're going to be procuring?
No, it's actually they call it it's a rotator. That's how they call it. The machine is like a tractor. But then on the name that I saw on the procurement is rotator.
Okay.
And then the rotator comes along with some accessories. Just like how a tractor has all these accessories.
Okay.
So one machine does the cutting, and then they will remove it and attach another equipment there that will do the combing, and then they will remove it and put another attachment there that does the sanding. So they have all of those things. So they have the cutting, the mowing, the sanding, and then the application of the fertilizer. Each one has its own equipment that will be attached to the tractor if you want to use the local.
If we have that, we can apply to host the Africa Cup of Nations.
Well, I'm not sure with one stadium. Well, maybe co-host with Senegal.
You would have sorted the second stadium.
Yeah, we're definitely working on that.
Jar Oil. The company have filling stations across the country, and our rates are relatively cheaper than anyone else across the country. Jar Oil is the biggest producer and distributor of cement in the country with the most competitive prices in the market.
So we're moving ahead. But
so when you say you're dealing with CAF, through what GFF official? The president, the secretary general, who?
The secretary general.
Secretary general.
Yes.
Okay. Maybe we should get Lamin Jassy on the program to come and tell us what's going on in CAF. Who he's talking to. That's creating all this confusion. I've said this behind your back that I have watched matches taking place in certain countries on pitches that cannot be near, let alone outdo the quality that we have here in the Gambia. Yet we always, come back failing. First it was the toilets, then the journalists, the media tribune, but apparently that's all been fixed. And now it's a question of the pitch. And it would appear the pitch might be the most expensive of this undertaking, because if you have to fly in a machine, and then you have to think about spares and maintenance and all of that.
No, that's true. Yes, it's one of the most expensive because there is a complete removal of what was originally there. And with these modern pitches, you have the popping up sprinkler systems, wherein you somewhere control somewhere else, and then they're timed.
Well, the stadium has had that from day one. The Independent Stadium sprinklers?
No, they're different. Those sprinklers are out. They are no longer there.
Oh, okay.
They were removed. That's why when people talk about the cost of the stadium, they didn't take time to even understand what consists of the work.
But why did they remove the sprinklers?
No, because they don't work with this kind of modern system of pitches.
Really?
Yeah, the entire system was out. There were sprinklers that were on the side. Now, these sprinklers we have now are popping up systems that are automated. So, if, for instance, you program them for 12 o'clock, when it's 12 o'clock, they pop up, and then they water, and then they go back down again in the middle of the pitches. So, those are some new systems.
The Chinese system was the same. It popped up, watered. Sometimes, just to show off, at halftime, the stadium management would just make them work and everybody would applaud them. Come on, Bakary.
Okay. No, I don't know.
You would have been a small kid at the time.
Yes, and I don't remember how it worked. I remember that there were some bigger sprinkler systems that were there.
Yes.
Those are the ones. Okay, so those are the ones that I know about. And these ones are different, like I said.
Okay.
These are
more modern,
smaller, more modern.
Probably they use far less water and are more efficient.
No, they actually use more water.
The new ones?
Yes. They actually use more water, and then I think they
can now extend that, or you'll have your own.
It's expensive. The bills now we have monthly is a lot. It's especially during the construction time. I've not checked recently how much it is, but our bills goes to about 100,000 per month just for the water. Yeah, but like I said, the everything changed at the stadium. Because when these guys came and they looked at it, in fact, what they were saying is that the kind of machines that were there are old, and then they cannot be able to go along with the kind of pitch we have. So they have to remove everything and run a complete new system of watering, just like how we remove the entire electrical and plumbing systems.
I was going to say
all of those things were changed. So what people see at the stadium is the structure, which is the main building. Every other thing in that stadium changed: electrical, plumbing, the watering system, the change rooms, everything that was there. The ceilings were all broken and everything has to come fresh. So when people say, they spend so much money, we ask that people check online and look at Burkina Faso, Mali, Sierra Leone, Liberia. How much did they spend? Each one of them is more than $10 million. We didn't even spend $5 million on what we're doing right now, including yet.
Yeah, we haven't finished yet.
Yeah, but even if we add the machines that we are buying, we're not even getting to that level. That's the reality, because our expenditure, I've seen people talk about 400 million. I don't even know where they get that figures, because one thing I know about is we were very transparent when it comes to the stadium. I was regularly updating the media. Sometimes we take them there, we show them what we're doing. We will take them and go around. At the end, they ask questions. So wherever they got that money from, we didn't talk about it, because all along we have said we've spent $275 million on the stadium.
Okay. Well, that's official now. If they were saying 400 million, you're saying that's not correct.
No, we have always been very
The correct figure is 275 million.
That's what we have spent so far, and that's what we have been communicating. So even if you add whatever, it's not good in getting to the 400 that they've been talking about.
Okay, so the UDP has hit at you, or let's say Tombong Sedi has hit at you, and you've struck back by taking aim at the local councils. Yeah. In the case of the Kanifing municipality, the KMC, what? And it's interesting to ask you this question, because you challenged Talib for the position, and if you had won, probably you would have done that. What should Talib had ensured is done for sports infrastructure in the Kanifing municipality?
No, the reason we said that, or let me say I said that, is because Mr. Tombong was talking about, in his statement, he said, a UDP government would change that. And I was saying that he doesn't need to wait for a UDP central government, because government is both central and local.
Sure.
So if their councils or their party is the one running the councils, and not just KM, they're in Banjul, they're in Brikama, West Coast region, they're in Lower River region, and they used to be in URR, in North Bank. They have not invested even in a single youth or sport project. So you want to tell us that, when you become central government, you will do something? No, I am saying do it. Let the young people or the sport fraternity see it now at the local councils, so that we will believe that maybe when you become central government, you will do it. That is what any honest person would say. Because governments everywhere in the world are responsible for national infrastructure or major infrastructures. All the municipal stadiums, municipal parks are all done by local councils. Just across our neighbor here, you see those things. So that is what we want their councils to do, so that we can be able to share the responsibility of supporting the sports sector, and not to just put it on the ministry, and because the stadium is not good, you're talking about doing sport infrastructure. Let them initiate it now. That is our challenge to them. And for me, as a resident of KM and partially West Coast, and even as Minister of Sports, we have not seen a single mini stadium or a single football field that was constructed by their council. So that is our challenge to them, in order to give hope that, yes, when they become central government, they will do something.
Yeah, but they have a few parks, yeah? There's one just in front of us here. There's one behind us, Kotu. There's the Africell park as well. So
that's for KM.
That's for KM, yes.
Yeah, but those are, again, and I'm not doubting the idea, that what the EU-funded parks, that's the community parks, are just community parks. They are not for football, and even maybe six-a-side fields that I've seen there. But are those taxpayers' money, or they are EU-funded projects? We are talking about, if today government has World Bank support, we can build a stadium, or EU support, we can build a stadium. We don't have that. So I'm talking about the local support, the taxpayers' money being invested in a sport infrastructure, not to wait for EU to have a youth-friendly project and decide to say, okay, we want to partner with the council, and then they give you money to implement it. That is not what we are talking about. We're talking about the councils understanding the priority of the young people and investing taxpayers' money in that sector. You've been around. You know that these parks were built when former like Conte was here. And those are government funding, a priority that they said, okay, young people are important, sports sector is important, we want to invest in these parks. Even as recent acts, former Mayor Colley, councils were paying security and taking care of the water bills from these parks. This council removed all of that and put it back to the communities to say, you are responsible for your own water, you're responsible for your own security. That's why our parks are struggling now.
Oh, wow.
So these are the things. If it is a priority for them, they should be able to take care of the basic things and support the young people in the maintenance of those pitches or the parks.
I'm going to ask you to put on your headphones, because I'm going to bring you now audience feedback. And I want to start with this on funding for our football. we hosted a young Gambian called Mohammed Silla. Well, that's the name his parents gave him, exactly. But he goes by the name Sparkling Black, and he's got some, well, I mean, what do I say? Let's say unique perspective on funding of the Scorpions.
If I was having the right to decide, we will ban all Africans from going to World Cup, African Cups, and we will focus on our local Nawetans and these things.
Yeah?
I think that will make a lot of impacts than what we're doing right now. We could play divisions and teams here and there, but my against is World Cup, African Cup. Because knowing fully well that, let's say if Gambia make it today to the World Cup,
yes,
if it requires $50 million for Gambia to go and play, that money will be provided.
True.
And knowing that Gambia will not even come out third, and then we will all spend this money to send them there in the name of marketing the name of the country or whatever. And then the Nawetan, the whole trophy of a Nawetan is less than $1 million. And you have 22 teams, local teams, playing to have 500,000 or 300,000 as a trophy.
Even less.
Or less. Peter, that's sad. Because the amount of money we are wasting in these tournaments, it doesn't really make sense.
For you, it's a waste.
It's a big waste. Because if we say we need some equipments in the hospital, it's not going to come that quick. Even the people, the citizens are not going to contribute to that. But when it's football, even if we say, oh, the government doesn't have money, you will see some people willing to donate. Everybody will be happy to donate to see that Gambia is there. And what are we really achieving on all these things? I think we are managing our country in a very wrong direction. It's not only Gambia, but we are not focusing on the priorities. And this is definitely a problem. A country
so this is the kind of conversation that goes on in the ghetto.
And this is why we and these people cannot interact, because sometimes we think they don't get the point, and they think we don't get the point. You know?
Every time
then there are problem, Peter.
Every time I listen to that, I can't help laughing. I mean, do you understand the point he's making?
I do understand the point he's making and respect it. You know, there's the last part that he said, sometimes we think these people don't understand us, and we also don't understand them. I listened to it last night, and I said, no, you don't understand. You know?
Well, make him and me right. And everybody understand.
No, on one part I agree with him that whether we should continue to spend money.
You don't have to keep them on. You can keep them on, but if you want to take them off, you can, yes.
Yeah, so I agree with him in terms of investment of sports. But one thing I don't agree with him is the part where he said if the hospital needs medicine or some equipment, it doesn't come that quick. And in that argument is one of the reasons why our investment in sport is little. It's the same argument why, until today, the Ministry of Youth and Sports continues to struggle with budget issues, because the mindset is that before you spend on sports, why don't you spend on health? Why don't you spend on education? Why don't you spend on agriculture? And so if he thinks that way, and we are struggling with budget, and the other people also think the same way, because it's a matter of priority among priorities, then there's a problem. However, should we spend more money on the local leagues? I agree. But if there is no AFCON, the money that he's referring to would not come. Because, of course, it wouldn't. Because there's no budget to say, in our national budget, you don't see anywhere where they say Gambia's participation in AFCON. It's not there. So if you don't qualify for AFCON, you don't get the money that he's referring to that we're going to use on the local league. I wish that there is money budgeted for AFCON, and if you don't qualify to AFCON, we can use it on the local league. Then maybe somebody will wish that we don't qualify so that we can use it to develop our league. But that is not the situation here. The situation is you qualify to AFCON, then you get money for AFCON. But again, if today government says we don't have money to even spend on the national team, the same conversation as we are having right now with what is happening with the stadium is what will come. Yeah. We are not able to fix the stadium.
And he makes the point. He says even if government says it does not have money, the fans, football fans, will volunteer and contribute to send the team to AFCON and World Cup, knowing that they will come back empty-handed. We are not at that level yet. But he says, if we sit here and complain that we don't have CT scans in our hospitals, we don't have, MRI machines and all kinds of, necessary life-saving equipment, Gambians will only, complain about it, but they wouldn't even contribute a butut.
Well, that tells you maybe that's the power of sports. That's how I understand it.
Without a doubt.
And, because sports is such that around the world, these conversations are valid. If you go anywhere, you read the books, you listen to the media in the international community in the US and all that, it's the same conversations. The municipalities and the regional governments will say, we don't have money for education and others, but they will use money to build fancy stadiums and all of that. That is how the world goes. But again, these corporate institutions that are sponsor, they are not necessarily interested in the outcome. They are interested in the advertisements for their companies because that's also what brings revenue for them.
Visibility.
So they don't want to spend in a hospital because the visibility is not there.
Yeah.
They want to spend in a sport activity or a sport infrastructure because anytime you watch the match, you see Coca-Cola or you see, the jar oil or something else.
Yeah.
That's what their interest is. So, and that's what I said. Even if you want them to spend there, they wouldn't spend that because they are not doing it because they love people alone. They're doing it because they're looking for the advertisement. So at the ghetto, when the conversations happen, of course, I come from a voter and I interact with young people. Where I live now in Carnifing, I interact with young people. So we have these conversations. But I've rarely heard anyone say don't spend on football. All they talk about is, we're not spending so much, we're not spending very little, and they want us to do more. So that is why government also is doing everything possible to ensure that we provide for our team. But I also want him to understand that there's a lot of revenue that comes out of sports. And yes, it might not be visible, but it is there. Because today, when you have a team going to AFCON, in the minimum, you would have probably 5 players, 10 players that probably get scouted and they go and play. We had our under-20 go to Argentina the last time. And out of the 24 players that went to Argentina, 16 of them signed professional after coming back from Argentina. So you can look at those 16. Each one of them is going to be receiving some money that's going to send as remittance. That's what contributes towards the numbers of the funds or money that comes in annually.
The remittances.
Yeah. They support their families and change the lives of their families and build a house for their families. That is changing. Some of them are investing in business in the country. That also is changing. There's some like Omar Kohli and others who buy clubs and then they upgrade the football fields and then they get young people who probably have lost hope, but then they get into these clubs and then they get to sign professional. So the triple effects are many. And these are not things that people talk about, but it's a reality.
Absolutely. We have tons of messages and questions coming in for you. Unfortunately, we can only do a few because already my next set of guests are here from Jar Oil. Of course, very important to us.
Excellent jam, Suway.
Yo, apply. Yo, luta do dede. Luta mo nulo jël moto nga andil ma xaalis. Hello? Ano lay waxal?
Busol mo fine.
What?
Busol mo fine. Wave Axina Gambia. Deposit and withdraw money, pay bills and buy mobile credit without fees. Transfer money wherever in the country for only 1% fee. At Wave. Busol mo fine? Wave. Your money is yours.
This one says, in that case, why haven't MoYS, the Ministry of Youth and Sports, and GFF worked together from day one in renovating the stadium? The story we heard is that the GFF was sidelined in the initial renovation project, hence the lack of CAF guidelines in the first component of the project. What is even baffling is that the head of the stadium is a senior member of GFF. Why is coordination this poor? Because apparently CAF said if they had been consulted in the first place, things would not have been this delayed. When you set out to renovate, upgrade the stadium, why was CAF left out, if CAF was actually indeed left out?
No, CAF was never left out, Mr. Gomez. I think that sometimes people tend to, instead of listening to the official versions, they tend to listen to the other people who seems to be the louder voices. Because government is just one person, one government. We speak once, and then we cannot be repeating ourselves over again. Okay. We have issued multiple statements when it comes to the stadium. The basis of the renovation of the stadium was based on a CAF inspection report that was shared with the Football Federation and shared with the stadium manager, who shared it with the ministry. And we gave it to the Ministry of Works to say this is what CAF have identified as areas where you need to work on. And so that came from CAF. So for people to say CAF didn't, they were not consulted, that's not a fact. Secondly, once we set out to do the work, what was missing, and I've explained this multiple times, is there was a comprehensive study of what needs to be done in the entire renovation of the stadium. However, we were advised that if you cannot do all of this, you can do a certain amount of work, and then you'll be able to get the matches back on, and then you can continue to play while you continue to renovate. That is what our belief was, and that was the reason why we limited ourselves to those most do things as per the report, also recommendation of Mr. Ibufai, the stadium manager. Unfortunately, when the CAF inspector came, and again, I have said this, the CAF inspector initial coming to the country was not to come and pass or fail the stadium. He was here to look at what we set out to do and advise. That was why we call it a preliminary inspection. It was not a finalized one. And that also came by a recommendation of the Football Federation to say, now that you have started the work, let's get the CAF guy to come, CAF inspectors to come, and advise on what we plan to do. When he came, he looked at what we were doing and said, okay, this is not good enough. You need to take some part of phase 2 and add it to phase 1 so that you can get your approval. And that is when he recommended for the media tribune, and he asked us to put the player tunnel and quite a number of other issues on phase 1. And that's what report that went out, and people misunderstood that to say CAF rejected the stadium. And when people say, oh, they've been rejected twice or 3 times, I said, no, that's not the issue. So this has been the timeline. And CAF, Mr. Sidat coming into the country was not to come and decide whether the stadium was good. It was for him to come and look at what we're doing and advise us. And he did advise to say, add this and this and this, and that will be published. So we had to go back to government and said, well, what we wanted to do in the first phase is not good enough. That's what brought about the additional 60 million that people were talking about from the original 100 million. And we had to move some of the issues to phase 1. And that's what we just completed last year. And then that's when we invited them for final inspection, but they said it did not qualify. So these are the realities of things. Now, was JFF involved in the first phase? No. Not as a member of the technical committee, but correspondences coming to us from CAF comes from them. The idea to invite CAF for an inspection comes from them. We said we set up a technical committee where JFF was invited, but they didn't come. Now, my permanent secretary is the one who chairs the meeting. When he went the first times, he said, well, JFF and GumWorks did not come to the meeting. And I said, maybe we need to send them a reminder. Whether they did or not, I don't know. Those are technical issues that I wouldn't follow. But later on, I was told that none of those were coming. Until when this issue happened, that's when now they started coming. So yes, in the first phase, JFF was not there. But Mr. Ibufai, who is our stadium manager, a staff of the ministry, is an executive member of JFF.
Second vice president.
Second vice president for that matter. So we wouldn't say he was representing JFF. He was not. He was there because he was a stadium manager. He's an inspector of CAF. If something is not right, maybe he can advise and say this is not right. But as long as I know, things were going on smooth, and JFF never complained about it until when the issue happened. Then they said, oh, we were not part of the technical committee. But they were part of the technical committee when the work got onto the second phase, initially when CAF CDAT came. And we didn't get the qualification. We did not get the passing. So this whole issue is not an issue of JFF or ministry. It's about the country. And I believe that we have worked together as a ministry and as a federation to get to the level that we are.
This will be the last one. Good morning, Peter. Remind the minister that his government refuses to pay the subvention to the local government as required by law, simply because they are mainly controlled by the opposition. This is affecting the development aspirations of the local government. I suppose this is in reaction to the criticism that the UDP controlled councils are not developing infrastructure, sport infrastructure at municipal
level. That's what they're made to believe. And unfortunately, I'm sure that's a UDP supporter. That's why he's saying that. But, I mean, those are not the realities. Government had...
Let me admit, it's from Tombong Saidi.
Well, of course I know. You know, so yeah, so I suspect it's UDP, but that has been the argument that is wrong. Councils are collecting revenue at the local level. The subvention that they're talking about, I mean, I don't want to go into those details, but the law says, initially, I was a councillor, I know all these things. Councils never receive government subvention. It never happened.
It never happened?
No. During Jammeh time, it did not. There is no mayor that would say I received money
during Jammeh time.
During Jammeh time, even during President Barrow's time, they did receive it. They did receive.
What about Jawara? You can't speak for the Jawara.
No, of course. You know, well, so I don't know about what happened in the Jawara time, but I know during the Jammeh time, I was in the council for 5 years.
We're just trying to qualify this. Councils never received. So.
So yes. So Jawara time I wouldn't know really, but in the Jammeh days, at least in his time, it did not. Like Conte was around, he wasn't receiving subvention from councils, from central government. Yankuba Koli did not receive subvention from central government. In fact, at one time, with all this infrastructure work that they did not. Now, it used to be like 25%. I still hear them talk about the 25%, even though that was amended some years ago.
To what figure?
To about 12%.
Or lower?
Yeah.
Lower than even half?
Yeah, because Jammeh was not able to do it. So when the pressure was coming from the local councils, he realized that this thing is not going to pass, and he went and took the law and amended it. They don't even know that it was amended. They still talk about 25%. But if they go to the schedules in the local government, they will see that it was amended. Now, they amended it to 12%, and I'm sure this is information that I'm providing for them. I never wanted to do it, but I'm now doing it. And even after that reduction to 12%, it did not happen. So they have this, there is another amount, I cannot remember the what they call it in the local government, that they are supposed to give to the councils. But even with that, they did not. But this government has supported council many times. And, you know, sometimes when they make these excuses, it's just a failure on their part. Councils were paying all these electricity bills, the street light bills you see in the entire country. KM was paying electricity bills for street lights. When this government came, council said they cannot do it. The central government took it from them. But in the Yankuba Koli time, they were paying this in addition to all the other works they're doing. So if they cannot deliver, let them tell the people they cannot deliver. But let them not make those acts an excuse that government is not giving. And unfortunately, they have made people believe that because government is not giving them money, that's why they cannot do all the things that they are doing. What are they doing with the local taxes that they are collecting so far?
We know now because the local government commission is telling us.
Exactly. So the excuses cannot continue to say, oh, we are not getting money from central government.
Although the argument is the people implicated in the local government commission, you know, findings or, you know, revelations are all, you know, central government appointed personnel.
Well, if that's the excuse, then we should never hold President Barrow and us for anything that happens in government. Because we are also not appointing the people that work for us. They are appointed by a public service commission.
Which is under the president.
Yeah, which is under the president. But the local government service commission is also answerable to the executive today, but they are working, appointing staff for the councils. So my point is, there's a local government service commission appointing staff for the local councils, and there is a public service commission appointing staff for the central government.
Mayors and chairpersons are political, if you like, appointees.
Elected.
They are elected directly into office, you know, so they come in as politicians, not brought in by the local government commission or public service commission, whatever you call it. That's
my point is,
that's their argument.
My point is today,
that until now, well, with the exception of Banjul, for instance, where, you know, we're now hearing about per diem payments to the mayor. If you take KM, for instance, what can you stick on Talib? Everything was about the CEO, the finance officer, who were not appointed by him.
Anyway, I don't want to go into the details of this council. So the report will talk about it.
Yeah, sure.
You see, whatever happens, whether it's done directly, indirectly, on behalf of someone else, and somebody receives it on behalf, it's the same thing. It's like today, when you talk about ministries, and you say a minister, I don't appoint my permanent secretary, I don't appoint my directors, and they're the ones that run the administration. But everything hovers on my head if failure happens. It's the same thing in the councils. They are elected just like how I'm appointed, and then they appoint CEOs and directors under them. But the supervision, like they say, the box, what do they call it? They
stops with the head.
Stops at the head. So it's the same system. Today, President Barrow does not know anything about financing. He is not the accounting officer of the central government. He's not the accounting officer of the presidency. There is someone else responsible for accounts. But if something goes wrong at ports, it's the president that gets blamed. If something goes wrong at another institution, it's President Barrow that gets blamed. So it's the same kind of structure that we have as a governance. So they cannot continue to make excuses for their heads while wanting to hold ministers accountable when ministers don't also appoint the people that work under them.
Bakary, thank you very much for your time. And yeah, we have to end it here because Jar Oil have been patiently waiting outside. Just in conclusion, what might you have to say? Just
to go back to the Tombong Sedi issue. And I'm really, like I said in the...
This is the one about our game with Kenya and the Independence Stadium.
We want to make this clear. This government, with everything that people can say, the amount of investment we're doing in the Scorpions, in the national team, has never happened in history.
That's true.
That is a reality.
Nobody doubts that.
Yeah, and so they must admit that when he said we neglected the Scorpions in his statement, he was not being truthful. The reality is, the achievements we're getting in football today is partially because government has taken up the responsibility of financing the national team. Absolutely. And that is why we're getting all these travels, all these hotels and everything, the allowances that the players are getting, and that also helps in terms of their performance. So I think it's important that people credit the government for that. And then today, you live in London Corner, just behind you, there is a major infrastructure development happening when it comes to Mboyo Field.
And Mboyo Park, yes.
Yeah, to bringing it to a normal mini stadium with all the facilities Absolutely. Of football, basketball, and volleyball. Yeah. If you go to...
He went there and filmed, and he showed me what was there. Right. Impressive.
Yes. And then we're doing similar works in Buyam with the football field, in Janjambure, in Sandu. So government is really investing when it comes to sport. On the side of the youths, we just launched the higher education project where we supported close to $300 million of institutions to support young people who are interested in TVEC. President Barrow is building the University of Science and Technology in Brikama. These are all meant to support young people. So I think, yes, we can do the politics. Let people also recognize the efforts that are being done to uplift the living standards of young people and contribute towards the sports development.
Bakary, thank you so very much for starting your day here. Now you know where we are. Don't wait for the next invitation.
All right.
All right. Next time you want to discuss youth affairs, just give us a bell, and we'll have you over. Bakary Badjie is the Gambia's Minister for Youth and Sports, and we thank him very much.
Excellent jam, Suway.
Yo, apply. Yo, luta do dede. Luta mo nulo jël moto nga andil ma xaalis. Hello? Ano lay waxal?
Bisul mu fine.
What?
Bisul mu fine.
Oh, yes!
Wave Gambia. Deposit and withdraw money, pay bills and buy mobile credit without fees. Transfer money wherever in the country for only 1% fee. At Wave, Basel Mufine, Wave, your money is yours.
Jar Oil. The company have filling stations across the country, and our rates are relatively cheaper than anyone else across the country. Jar Oil is the biggest producer and distributor of cement in the country with the most competitive prices in the market.